Good morning, everyone. How are you all today? It's Jodi here. If you're new, I'm so glad that you're here. Maybe you got here just because you saw this notification, or maybe you're here because you come every week. Either way, please say hello in the comments so I know that you are here. I'm so happy to be here because I think that this is a topic. If you see the topic, I think sometimes people see that I'm live and come in and you don't even know the topic. And I didn't announce it ahead because I just been busy doing other stuff this morning, and I have a bit of a tummy ache. So if this ends up being a little bit shorter, it's because I have a little bit of dealing with a little tummy ache. I'm also was 5 minutes late here because I was trying to get ready for you. Hi, Nikki. So nothing to worry about, of course, just I have stomach stuff, but it's no big deal at all. If you didn't read the topic for today is, do you need some TLC? And some people don't know that term, I think, especially maybe if you're not an English speaker, but TLC means tender, loving care. Tender, loving care, TLC. So we use it as, and I think even young people don't use that term. It might be just, my generation understands TLC because we used to use it so much, but young people sometimes haven't heard that term. It's not like a colloquial for the younger generation. It's not like a texting short yet. So we have to bring it back because I think it's an important one. Don't you? Who likes that word TLC? Like, it just brings up when it's like, I need a little TLC. Anytime you're upset, anytime you had a loss, anytime you've had a disappointment, anytime you're just struggling. I mean, you don't have to have a reason. Sometimes you're just feeling sad. TLC is a way of feeling acknowledged, getting some tender, loving care, like having someone treat you with TLC makes you feel worthy, makes you feel loved. And no matter what happened wrong, okay, it doesn't fix it, it doesn't solve a problem, but whatever happened wrong is the opposite. So whatever happened wrong, something is taking away your sense of worth. Like if you had a disappointment, it feels like you're unworthy of that happening. If you had a loss, it affects our worth, all of it. It affects the worth of us or something we love or something that's really precious to us. So anytime you're down, there's a minus of worth of something that is worthy to you or something you love, right? So when we are going through difficult times, the tender, loving care, having somebody acknowledge or treat worthy or lift up the worthiness of you or something that is precious to you is what we need. It is the first step on the healing path and is everything, actually. I hesitate to say that it's all of it because, healing is very complicated. But in the space of having that TLC, people could relax a little bit because when we're hurting, we contract. And then when we feel loved, when we feel held, when we're hurting, we do not feel held. And when we feel held, I'm so glad Violet says she could catch me every once in a while. It's a holiday today, so Violet could catch me. I'm so happy. So I want to talk about TLC today because everybody deserves TLC. And we're taught in this, if grew up in Western culture, and I know not all of you have, I know there's people from around the world that watch me, but if you've grown up in Western culture, we've been encultured to value individualism, that we need to take care of ourselves, that we need to solve all our own problems, that we need to be really independent, yada, 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 right? So we've been growing up to thinking that we have to be self-sufficient. That's valued. And we haven't been taught to ask for help when we need it. But that's crazy because we're social beings. Humans are social beings. And so we don't exist in a vacuum. We don't have a sense of self in a vacuum. We don't feel good in a vacuum. It's horrible for our psyche to be isolated. And so not having learned how to ask for help is such a detriment to our emotional well-being, our physical well-being, our mental well-being, our spiritual well-being, not knowing how to ask for help. So this is a huge barrier for a lot of us, even strong people. Like, this is a huge barrier for us that we don't know how to ask for help. Thanks for the thumbs up. Hearts, thumbs up. Love it. Love it. Come, come, come. So we're not taught really to ask for help. We're taught not to ask for help, which is horrible for our life. It's not good. That's not how we want to raise our kids, even if we were raised that way, or society is raising us this way. This is not a parental problem. This is a societal, cultural problem. This is in all our cultural discourses and mores. This is not just a family issue. And sometimes when the family doubles down on that, it does affect us as well. So I'm not saying that doesn't happen. It totally does. So when our family doubles down on those discourses and criticizes us, then it's more intensified, as you can totally imagine. When it's you can't imagine. You think you're doing it all wrong. Good morning, Stanley. But when it's somebody else, you can imagine. When I say it like that and you imagine somebody else, you're like, oh yeah, that makes total sense. So I want you to have that same compassion for yourself. Well, thanks for all the hearts that you're having for other people. All right, so we are not taught to ask for help, but this is not good for us. So now what? So Jodi, what do? It's like, we need a little TLC because we know we need it. We don't know if we deserve it because we've been taught not to ask for it. So we've been taught. So in effect, because we're taught not to ask for it, in effect, we feel like we don't deserve it, which is a BS, okay? Because it's not true. Of course you deserve it. The other thing that happens is sometimes we get so desperate and we hear these voices that say, you could ask, you deserve it. You should ask for help. Like, that's a skill. So we have all these discourses telling us that we need to take care of everything for ourselves. And then we have these thought leaders saying, you should ask for help. You should get support. And we're like, well, this doesn't even make sense. Okay, I guess I was doing it wrong. We judge ourselves. And then we try to ask for help. And what happens? It doesn't really work out. You know why? Because people are limited. So I need to tell you in this podcast, I want to tell you that the problem is we need to know who to ask for help from. Because if we don't know who to ask for help from, then we try to build up all our courage. We try to tell ourselves we're worth it. We try to do all this, and then we go and we finally ask for help. And that person can't give it to us. And then what do we decide? We decide that we did it wrong. We weren't supposed to. We weren't worthy of it. Nobody understands us. We're making stuff up, or we're overreacting, right? And the reality is we went to the wrong person. And I don't want you to blame yourself for that either. But this is what we have to know. We have to know we need to give ourselves permission to ask for help. And please, of all goodness, you need to know who is okay to ask for help from. Who is safe to ask for help from? And so let's start talking about who it's not safe to ask for help from. And anybody have any ideas about that? While you're typing in, I'm going to say, I'm going to just say that I see you. And I hope this is landing somewhere, and I hope that it makes like sense, that it's like, oh, yes, this is exactly what I need to hear today, because I need some TLC. Please give me some TLC. And, I'm speaking from experience here. I'm not speaking in terms of like, I always get all the help I need. I always get all the TLC. I'm going to tell you a story. Well, I'm doing this while you're typing in who's not okay to ask for help for. Let's like, who is it in your life, or who is it in general? Don't say your life, because you might not want to give private information out publicly like this. or you might have some questions for me, you could ask it. Remember, this is live coaching, so you could ask me some questions. This is your time to do that. I always bring a topic, but that is just to get the ball rolling along. A couple times back, I was going to talk about something, but I really started answering your questions and really didn't get to the content too much. So don't worry about it, because if I don't get to the content, I'll just make another video of that content. All right, so so you're typing in for me who is not good to ask for help from, and I'm going to tell you a story. Like, so I don't even know how to say it really, but like, sometimes I want to tell people like I'm human. Sometimes I tell people like I'm working a lot, right? So I had several clients this week that I wanted to tell that, just so they didn't feel like I checked on some people. Okay, I don't always check on people because I just don't have the bandwidth to do it. I just see more people. I say yes to everybody, and I see a lot of people. Because of this pandemic going on and people's needs are increasing, us mental health workers are really increasing our load and taking more and more people to try to satisfy the need. And if you haven't read articles about what's happening to people in the mental health field and how this is affecting us, please read some, because everybody leans on us, but this has been really intense for us. So if I tell my clients I'm working extra or something, they're so happy for me. They're so happy for me at my success, right? And I could be happy for that too, of course. I am so happy that it's successful, but that's not why I'm saying that I'm busy. I'm not flaunting my success. You know what I mean? I'm thinking like I'm not flaunting my success. I'm letting them know why it's taking me so long to check in. And I'm letting them know that there's a lot on my plate, right? So it's not like I want them to do something for me. I'm not like that, but this sounds really bad because it does sound like that, doesn't it? It sounds like that I want them to like acknowledge me or something. I'm just letting them know, okay, so if I check in on somebody, it's really difficult. In the mental health field, if you check in on somebody, it might be construed as you're soliciting them to pay you more, to have more sessions. So I'm really careful about checking in with somebody that I haven't seen in a long time, because I don't want them to think that I'm just trying to solicit them for more business, because that would be against my ethics, right? But checking in on them to make sure they're okay, because I haven't heard from them, is okay with my ethics. So I guess that's what, maybe I have a little guilt and like, okay, this is run on here. I guess I have, so I want them to know that that's not what I'm doing. I'm checking on them because I want to check on them, not because I'm soliciting business. But I noticed that, but that their response was this congratulatory response. So it didn't land that I wanted them to know that I was thinking about them, even though I was like, it almost means more, right? So if someone's really, really busy and is taking care of a lot of people, and they think about you, doesn't that mean more? I don't know. I'm totally going off. I thought that made sense, but it might not be in my topic today. But I don't see any. My own family, Yvonne said. So Yvonne said that these are people who you don't ask for. Violet says, unhealthy people without boundaries, people trying to recuse you for their own gain, rescue you for their own gain, who you shouldn't ask for help from. Good. My own family. Yes, I guess. I don't know. I don't know your family. The checking in makes complete sense. I feel the same when checking on my dogs. Thanks for the insight. Oh, you're welcome. All right, so let's get back to the topic here, because I guess my story didn't line up. Thank you for staying on this call with me. All right. So Stanley says, I rarely ask for help. I so rarely ask for help, I don't know who to ask. I know, I'm right there with you. We're all like that. Okay, so let's talk about that. This is our time to talk about now who to ask for help with. Obviously, you could ask for help from a professional. So that could be a body worker, that could be a counselor, or a coach, that could be joining a training group or some kind of community or a group that supports people emotionally, right? Because that's what they're there for. And they have that capacity to do that. Like that's what they're doing. And there's an exchange, there's an even exchange. So you feel like they're with that exchange, it feels really good to be held. So if you could get any kind of body work or you could get any kind of support emotionally, either in a group or individually, that is a very safe place to be. Though I just read a BuzzFeed article about terrible things therapists say. So if you ever went to a therapist and they say terrible things, or a life coach, because they're not perfect. And so if they're not perfect, there's something wrong with that person. It's not something wrong with the profession. It's something wrong with that person. If you could, like, it was a recent BuzzFeed article about terrible things therapists say, and it makes you never want to go to a therapist. But these are outliers, and that's not all therapists. And a lot of people, change their whole lives and save their whole lives by going to a therapist or a coach or a massage therapist or something. There's so much out there, or do a community course or something like that. I'm going to start one, actually. I'm hoping by the end of the week. My new school called Earth Wisdom School is going to be open, and there's going to be a community aspect in it. Some are free, and some will be a little higher connection and work with me. So they'll have a little bit of cost, and then, there's more choices in there. They'll roll out slowly, though. They're not all going to be available at once. But anyway, that's what I'm talking about. I tell my clients a lot, like, you need to join. If you're isolated, So you need to go to somebody who's somebody who has this mutual way to be able to, somebody who's so grounded and okay. I mean, you wouldn't go to somebody in a crisis when you're not feeling good. You want to go to somebody who's really, really grounded, who understands pain, so is not like surprised by it or shocked by it or like scared by it. A lot of people have their own limits. Everyone has limits, right? Everybody has limits, but some people just have more capacity. And so you need to use your observation skills on who those people are. And then you want to build the trust first. So even if you're not feeling good, or even if you're feeling isolated, making friends with somebody and not talking about the deep, dark secrets is a good way to start things off, to build that trust up. You don't have to open up right away. You want to build that up to know that this is the right person. You want to observe them with other people. You want to observe them when they're frustrated. You want to have a lot of fun and laughter together. You want to really establish that bond instead of just opening up really, really quickly. Those relationships don't end up really lasting or have a robustness because people are really quick to open up like that. There's very little boundaries, and so it could collapse pretty quickly. Patricia, I'm sorry, I just got distracted by this. Patricia's a nurse, and she's been working this whole time like a champ and like a hero. And so that's so sweet. You are doing great work. I'm in awe of how wonderful you are and how wonderful work you do. All of the healthcare professionals, I'm in total awe of them. They need some TLC. We need to give some TLC, I know. And everyone on this call is probably really good at giving it and not so good at getting it or finding the right people to get it. I'm in the boat with you. I don't know how to find the right people to get it. And so, I do know now, but in my past, I've been there a million times. I even paid for support that didn't work out. So I get it more than most people get it. And so you really need to stop and observe. And until you make the friendship that really could withstand asking for help, and I don't mean like this is a big deal, like there's some people that they just have that stability and that goodness and that kindness. And and we all too often to go to the person that's not stable or too scared and too in their own fear, and they're not able to. They might seem like a leader because they really seem confident, but that confidence is probably a huge mask for other things. All right. So is that making sense? So sometimes if you don't have nobody, if you have like nobody you could go to and ask for help, start with a professional and then take some time and really observe who you could ask for help from. Sometimes there's people in your life that you could ask for like task-centered help from. And then sometimes there's people in your life that you could get that emotional support from. And you have to kind of know the difference. Like sometimes you could like ask like your mom to watch your kids, but you can't go to your mom for emotional support. I'm not speaking from my life, but I'm, in general, I'm trying to say generalities. So you have to know who you could get support from and what kind of support. Someone might be great at dropping off something that you need because they could do that. It's like task centered, it's limited, they feel good, they could drop it off, it's clear. And some people can't do that emotional piece because they don't know how, they don't have skills, they get in their own fear about it. They're afraid for you. They want to help, but they don't know what to do. They get all worried. It becomes about them. Those people are not the people to go to for the heaviest things. You need someone who's so grounded, that the roots right down into the ground and kind of could hold that capacity. But that doesn't mean don't ask for help. It means find the right person who is safe to. Depends on how vulnerable you are. If you have like a partner, if you have some friends that are really good friends and you're pretty stable, it won't matter as much. But if you feel like you have nobody, you have to be a little bit more careful getting started, making those connections, because you deserve those connections and they could be available for you. You just need to take a little bit of time and not jump on the first person that you meet. All right. So Violet says, any other questions? Come on, text them in or type them in. That makes sense. Sometimes I've shared too much with some people, overshared, and that got hurt, not started sharing at all. And I need to find a middle ground. Exactly. Yes. So you have to know who you could share a lot with, who you could share a little bit with. Sometimes you just refer to the pain and people could get it. And that's about all. It feels really, really good. And actually it feels so much better than not even doing it at all. So sometimes you're at that level where you ask for help, and sometimes we just want someone to know we're in pain. That's all the help we need, is just somebody knowing. And so you could refer to the pain and not actually talk about it. That might make you feel worse or worry, or them feel worse and worry. And so that's even helpful. I mean, even the statistics on happiness and the studies that they've done, even having small talk with somebody is better for our happiness level, for our mood. So, asking for help doesn't mean stop my problems for me, right? Asking for help could be all kinds of levels. It could be suggest a restaurant, suggest a name of a doctor, suggest a place that I could get such and such. Okay, so sometimes you want to ask people concrete things, and you have to know that is people wanting to do stuff for you. But when we have the story in our head that nobody's there for me, then all we see is nobody there for us. And so we have to start to change that story for us, that we don't deserve help. We have to change that story for us that we can't ask for help. And then we need to know who we could ask what to. And then everything will get so much easier. Then we change the story about ourselves, and we change the story about our vulnerability, and we change the story about how we are in the world. Does that make sense? I have no, yeah, Violet says refer to it. She likes that. Yeah, if you refer to it, A lot of times, and then, yeah, with clients, a lot of times we're role playing of how to do that at work, like how to talk about your problems at work or with your boss. There's subtleties of ways, because I know how people react to things. And it has nothing to do with you. Well, most of the time, like 99.99999% of the time, how people react, it has nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. And so you have to find somebody who's stable, who could stay on you and not bring it to them. That makes sense? All right. Well, nobody's got any questions for me. Well, thank you so much for listening to me as I rattled on. I hope I gave you really solid information, something that you could take with you today and use for this week and try. I mean, you don't have to take risks, but you do have to start to use your skills and observation. Everybody, even the most shy person, has immense, really particular, excellent skills in observing. And they're safe. So use those skills and observation and watch people. You'll very quickly find who is in their own heads and who has a good sense about the world around them, like knows how to read the room and knows how to get you. And those are the people that you could trust. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm so glad that you're all on here, and come on every Monday at 11. Get if you don't have it yet, you get my Let It Go MP3. And then I will, and I think you'll really, 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 really love it. Oh, Yvonne, you're welcome. Yvonne said it's really helpful. All right. So get my Let It Go MP3, jodiaman.com/letgo. And I'm getting some things ready. So it's not only in the MP3, but you're going to be able to log into this thing. It might be a week or so before I get it ready. And we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of resources and help for all of you. We're going to hang out and do these lives and get you better. Because listen, you don't have to stay where you are. We're in service. We have to do things. We have to make this world a better place. So we have to, we can't stay here. So I'll see you next week. But in the meantime, be present. Bless you too. And let that you want to be shine through.